Welcome back to the MyoBrain YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll be discussing all things blood flow restriction training, why you like it, if you should use it in your own workout routine, and how you can use these cool looking bands. So, if you've never heard of blood flow restriction training, I'll give a very brief overview. I'm not trying to get into the mechanisms of how it works today. I mainly want to go into the application of how to actually do it. But essentially, you will partially, keyword, partially restrict blood flow to a target muscle group to have more metabolites build up in that muscle group. For example, I'll post a video of me doing BFR incline curls. You'll see the wrap high here on my shoulder. I'm doing a very high repetition routine, and that will really pull a lot of the blood inside the bicep there. So that's essentially how it works. You partially restrict blood flow there. You'll do that for the entire set. We'll talk about that later, and you get a huge hypertrophy response from that routine. But like most things in exercise, this is just a tool, not a one-size-fits-all approach. So we'll talk about the 3 scenarios that I personally like to use BFR training. So the first one is when I have a joint like an elbow or a knee that's a little bit banged up and I can't or don't want to train through some pain with a heavy movement. Let's say if I have some elbow pain and I can't do heavy incline curls, I can do BFR curls with a 10-pound dumbbell, still target my bicep, have no elbow pain, and hopefully the elbow pain dissipates with time. Obviously, if it's something serious, I would go see a physical therapist and get it checked out, but we all know we just go through some bumps and bruises when we train. The same thing can be true if you have some knee pain. You could use a leg extension for a BFR, really hammer your quads, and you really don't have to worry about the knee pain in the short term. The second scenario, which I like to use BFR, is simply to break up the monotony of isolation work. Some people may really like to do curls and tricep push downs and leg extensions, but me personally, when it's my 5th or 6th exercise, I've already done a lot of work that day, I kind of find it boring. So using something like BFR, even if it's just equal to doing, say, 3 sets of 15 of the movement, it does just make it more fun. And when it's more fun, I'll probably try a bit harder and I'll probably have better results. And in conjunction with that, a lot of people will find that they're just spent at the end of a workout when they're doing isolation movements. So if you're doing, again, bicep curls and it's your 6th exercise of the day, you may not have the energy to use heavy weights. You just spent a lot of that with maybe some bench press or some barbell rows, a more demanding movement. So if we can use light weights, still get a hypertrophy response, it may actually be better for your overall stimulus in that workout. Okay, and the third reason why I like to use BFR training is that it saves time. You can do different style of rep ranges, but for example, what I did today was 30 reps, 15, 15, 15 reps with only a 20-second rest in between each of those. It took only about 5 or 6 minutes to do 4 working sets of incline bicep curls. That's a really quick way to target a muscle group, which again may not be a priority for you. So I either can just spend less total time in the gym, which is a big goal for a lot of people, or I can just direct a lot more time into maybe a bench press or a deadlift, something that's more pertinent towards at least my goals currently. Take that into contrast where if you just do 4 sets of 12 of an incline curl with a 2-minute rest, that may take closer to 10 to 15 minutes. So you may save 10 whole minutes just by doing BFR incline curls versus 4 standard sets. Okay, now let's talk about the actual protocol of BFR training. And I'm gonna go through one protocol here. There's no one size fits all here. Sometimes logistics gets in the way. For example, the protocol I'll post is the most common one where you do a big set of 40 followed by sets of 10 to 15 as your drop sets there. But sometimes just the weights you have are too heavy or too light to do that. For example, today, my top set was 30 followed by 15, 15, 15 because that's the max number of reps I could do with the 10 pounds I had. I don't even have lighter dumbbells than that. So again, logistics may limit this a bit. That's why it's important to understand the concept here, which is we're trying to push to like an RPE 9.5 on every single set. So you're really just pushing to failure somewhere in that 30 to 40 rep range initially, and then 10 to 15 rep range. So don't get too stuck on the 40, 15, 15, 15 protocol. It's more so about your overall intensity. And lastly, let's talk about how to apply the wrap, since that's going to be an important note of executing this training. So I will again post a link to this. We have no affiliation to this brand. It's just called BFR Bands. Pretty fantastic idea, because back in the day, because I'm old now, we used to just grab anything we could find to do this, like a wrist wrap or a leg wrap. And it was always kind of funky. And honestly, for me, it prevented me from doing BFR work because I couldn't even tie off my arms without asking somebody. So it was just really a pain. But something like this makes it really, really convenient. You may not be able to see this on the camera, but there are numbers on here, which obviously makes it super easy because your arms aren't gonna grow in a week or two, right? So I know for me, I could put this about an 8.5 and then just comfortably pull this over my arm. And the goal when we're doing, say, a bicep or a tricep movement is to have this really, really high on the arm. I'll pull up my sleeve here, see how jacked I am, where it's kind of just right under your shoulder. That's kind of where you want it to be at. Doesn't need to be super tight. This is a very common thing we see people do where their arm is like purple before they even start. I kind of have a pump already because I worked out. But you really should be thinking about like a 70 or 80% tightness. It should feel like there's pressure there, but by no means should you be uncomfortable before you even start the set. Again, you're gonna be doing a lot of reps, so the pump will come. You do not, repeat, do not just have this super, super tight for it to be effective. You don't, tighter doesn't mean better, it just means tighter. And it may actually be worse if you have to then terminate the set. So again, 70, 80% tightness. You'll see there's actual Velcro there. So I'll just tighten this on. Obviously do the other arm as well. And I would do my curls or do my tricep push downs or my lateral raises. Again, we're not gonna go through programming in this video, but usually I would say it's best to target isolated muscles here. You can do it for things like squats and bench press, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. I typically find that your cardio will be a bigger limiting factor there. So again, my favorite movements I like to do here would be incline curls, lateral raises, tricep push downs, and close grip push-ups. All right, so now let's apply it to the legs. I've actually never used this particular band for my legs. I also realized I'm pretty sure this is an upper body only band. I think the company has different sizes on Amazon, but this will still work. I just don't have any numbers. So this only goes up to about 12. Now I got pretty big legs, I guess. So it's gonna be a little bit bigger than that, but not a big deal. I'm probably not gonna buy leg only ones. I'll just manually adjust this. It still fits. It just doesn't really have numeric size there. So anyways, I will get this just like in the upper body, kind of as high as possible up here on the hip. So you see where that's at? That's probably even a little bit too tight. You can kind of see this, but again, there's a really easy way you can make this more tight or less tight really quickly. Again, just by yourself, don't need a friend, and you can Velcro that down. 70, 80% tightness here. And again, this would be fantastic to do a leg extension or a leg curl with. Then obviously I would just match this with the other leg and get to work. All right, and that's a wrap on the BFR tutorial. You know the 3 main reasons why I like to use it, the rep range, and also how to place them. Hopefully this is helpful.